Welcome to Range World, the podcast where life, development, leadership, growth, intentionality, and experience come into balance right before your very ears. And now, here's your tour guide into Range World, the president of Get Life in Balance, Rain Kansman.
Welcome back to Rain's World, and today I have Mr. Tom TerBeek as my guest. Tom is hailing from way up in the UP in northern Michigan, where I think you said it's going to be a high of 11 today, but I love it. I love it. Let me tell you a little bit about Tom. He has a total of 42 years in the food business and management. 17 on the restaurant side, 10 of those years in management, both in Grand Rapids and Detroit, Michigan. 25 years food service sales side, 20 of those years in management in Detroit as well as Indianapolis. The first 5 years was spent as a salesperson and then moved into multiple management roles, which were a DSM, district sales manager, a regional sales manager, and vice president of sales. Retired in August 2020, and that's why he's smiling so brightly there, and moved to Michigan's Upper Peninsula to run the family cabin rental business in Crystal Falls, Michigan. His wife, Becky, and he have been married for 38 years. Congratulations, sir. They have 4 children, 2 sets of twins, and 12 grandchildren. You win the grand prize. Welcome, Mr. Tom TerBeek. How are you?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm doing well, and thank you for inviting me on to have a good discussion here. And yeah, 12 grandchildren, and it helps when you have 2 sets of twins, my wife and I, and they all go off and all are having great lives and
Perfect.
Having kids. So I think we might be done. We're not sure. We'll see.
Okay. Either way, right? So Tom wanted to talk about listening today, and that's great. One of my favorite leadership topics when we do that. But let me ask you, why do you feel listening is an important quality for a leader, Tom?
Yeah, you know, when you take time to listen, it gives the people the idea or the realization that you care and that they're needed. And that they're wanted. They're so important to what we do day in and day out that, you know, it builds morale, it builds longevity, and it builds trust. As a leader. They look at you as a trusted leader, which is very important. You know, nowadays we're busy and things are going, and leaders don't always have all the answers, right? Okay. We have few. Occasionally we might find a good one,
right?
But really the best answers, the best solutions to some of the day-to-day problems or issues that may come up come from those folks that are doing the frontline work, those that are in it day in and day out. And, you know, if we listen effectively to them, I think you'll find that they will share. And when you act on these things that they bring to you, I think that even builds a lot more trust because they know they can use you as a sounding board, but as an effective way to look at how they can move their ideas ahead and how they can help the company continue to grow. So, you know, you have a vested interest in your folks. And one of the hardest, but one of the easiest things is to listen and to make sure that you hear what they say. And as I said a minute ago, you know, to act on it. And truly it shows you care about their thoughts and their concerns and the cares they may have. And I think it also gives you a chance to really get to know people that work with you and what they need to learn and how you can help them along their journey in their career, much like those did with you and I, you know, sat and listened to you in some training seminars that helped me. And I know you've shared that every time you've been in one of those, you've learned from others because you listened and applied what you heard.
Yep. And just like I'm learning more and more right now too, my friend. You so great. There's a few things, because you're speaking my language. I love how important listening is, frankly, in any relationship. In a leader's relationship, especially, because leaders don't have to have all the ideas. You're right. If we build a team of folks, that bring different skills to us, and we listen to them and stay open to them, man, we're so much better than we would be on our own. I learned an early lesson in kitchens, because that's where I grew up too, as I did that. And I remember my first big chef's responsibility. And, I had done every role, so I thought I knew everything. But you're absolutely right. Those people that were washing dishes had an issue. And I kept saying, no, until I finally stopped and listened. And they really had an issue. They're the ones doing that day in, day out. So I love that. I love that call out, Tom. So let me ask the second question. What benefits will one receive from being more effective listener?
Well, I think the number one thing is you become a trusted leader.
Right.
And as we've all worked for different leaders and different leadership throughout the years, where you felt the most needed and important to the organization was when you really trusted what the leadership was doing and what their thoughts were. So I think that, when you do that and you act on these things, you become a trusted leader. And that's what people truly are looking for. I'm convinced that people leave people. They don't necessarily leave an organization. And so building that trust over time is really important. We got to remember, to a lot of folks, we're their mentor, their coach. And part of that listening and leadership is to help them. They bring to you an idea, a thought, a concern, whatever it may be. It's important that, you listen to it. And then maybe it needs a little polish, maybe it needs a little testing, a little help of some sort, but that's where we can jump in and help them and give them some more ideas and send them back out to perfect it a little more. And also offering the feedback to them when they bring things to you. And, sometimes the feedback can be difficult for leaders, but I think as long as the intent is to help, support, mentor, and coach folks, and you give fair and honest feedback and help them, they understand that you listen to them. And then they truly do appreciate it. It may not always be what they want to hear, but if you do it with the right intent, again, it shows you listen and they do appreciate that. So, and you know what, at the end of the day, I'm sorry.
No, go
ahead.
At
the end of the day, when everyone is engaged and everyone is, they feel like their thoughts and cares and concerns are being heard, you create a great culture. And you've seen some of those cultures in the past where, people are just comfortable coming and talking and sharing their thoughts. And what it does is it opens up a world of creativity and openness in an environment that people feel more comfortable because you're willing to listen and hear and then hopefully be able to act on their ideas and thoughts.
Yeah. So Tom, sorry about the interruption earlier. There's just so many good things here, and I'm trying to capture them and remember them as I am listening to you. But the big things that I heard, and going back to an earlier statement, was truly listened. In order to give them effective feedback or help them coach through an idea, we need to hear them. We need to hear them. And there's nothing that at least not many things that upset me more than if I say something and they go off on correcting me on something that I didn't mean or say or never came out of my mouth, right? That kind of gives you that stance that, okay, you weren't really there. And the other thing that I like about listening is it's a matter of respect to me. It's a human human need to be heard, I think. And it shows that care, as you said. So let me frame up the last question. Tom is a type A personality. I mean, when he and I worked together, I had a rough time keeping up with this cat. So it's not a natural for you being an effective listener. It's something you worked on. So how does one improve their listening skills, Tom?
You know, and it's funny you say that. It is a very tough part. Anytime we're trying to improve our skill sets, whatever it may be, that's the hard part, right?
Yeah.
We can talk about it all day long, but making it happen is the important part, but it's also the toughest part. And one thing that I learned early on by having trying to be heard with someone that may not have been interested or too busy or just wasn't a good listener was that's something when I become management and leadership, I want to be a good listener. I want to hear folks and I want to make sure I do it. Still a struggle, but you know, to me, the important part was time and place.
Oh,
And I would always share with folks,
yeah.
you know, there's a time and a place. And, you know, if someone would come see me and say, hey, you know, I need to talk to you, or they'd sit down, they start talking, I'd go, listen, hold on, just a thought, just for a minute. I'm working on something that's very time sensitive. And I really need to finish this up because I want to give you 100% of my attention and I want to listen and hear what you have to say. And I can't do that and this at the same time. So can you give me a half hour and then we'll come back together and then you'll have my undivided attention, which is what you deserve and what I want to give you. So
Wow.
I think to me, that's critical that they have that they know that, you know. And then the other thing, Rain, is place.
Yeah.
You know, there's places you can have some conversations and hear folks and listen while you're walking down the hall together, you know. And then other things, you may need a place where there's less apt of interruptions, that you'll want to sit there and make sure that you have that discussion without interruption. So, yeah, I think, you know, as you're listening, if you take notes and then review those notes with the individual sharing with you, and so that they see that you've listened well, and then also that there may be some follow-up for somebody involved in there, and that you mentioned that. And I think they know that you were actively engaged in their conversation, and that they're excited that you've done that. But making that time and place is so important if you really want to be heard.
Wow. So some wonderful examples of how to there, Tom. I love the idea of asking, hey, do you mind? Because we do often get in those situations where people are coming to us. You had so many people in your time, in your leadership roles that answered to you, Tom, and you also had things that had to be done. And so what a great way to manage both ends of that with your example of asking, hey, can you give me X amount of time to do this? And then I can give you 100% of my attention. What a fair trade. I like that. And the place I hadn't thought about before. That great. Yeah. I had not put that piece together. Good stuff, my friend.
It's interesting because the more years that you did that, and the more people got to know you, I'd have people text or call me and go, hey, can you stop up here on your way home? And we'll have a cup of coffee, talk to this individual. And I got a couple other things I'd want to go over with you. And so, you know, I really learned to appreciate that they heard that whole process, time and place.
Yep.
and that they would then invite me into a spot where we could have a conversation if they needed. So, those are some of my thoughts on listening and how important it is, and the value that, quite frankly, everyone gets out of it.
Yeah.
Not just you, but the individual that believes in you and trusts you because of your ability to do so many different things, but listening be one of them.
Yeah. And so a couple of things on that, Tom. I don't think that would have happened. What you're talking about, people changing their behaviors to adapt to what you asked, if you had not delivered on your promise. And I know Tom's good on delivering on his promise, just like he did here today for me. Thank you, my friend. This has been excellent. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care.
You too.
This has been another leadership lesson from Rain's World. If this kind of learning whets your appetite, leaving you wanting for another helping of this kind of content, visit me at getlifeinbalance.com.